My name is Jason Rock with Rock CDL School in Pocatello, Idaho. I am also an independent skills tester for the state of Idaho for commercial driver's licenses. I'm going to take you through a pre-trip inspection, the new modernized pre-trip inspection, using the checklist provided in the CDL manual in Chapter 11. Using the vehicle inspection checklist provided in Section 11 of the CDL Driver's Manual, please demonstrate that you know how to conduct a vehicle inspection of all vehicle safety critical items, as you would normally do for any vehicle you're about to operate. You are to conduct the vehicle inspection as outlined in the CDL Driver's Manual. You are only required to inspect the items on the CDL vehicle inspection checklist. You may use the checklist for your test and may check off items as you have completed them, but no additional markings or writing may be placed on this list prior to starting the test. As you do your inspection, you must name each item, touch or point to the item or items you are inspecting, and fully explain what you are inspecting each safety critical item for. If you do not do so, you will not get credit. You will primarily inspect one side of the vehicle. If there are any items that are unique to one side of the vehicle, please inspect those items as well. During the lights operation check, inspect the operation of all lights on the vehicle. When exiting the vehicle during the test, you must set your parking brake and place the vehicle in neutral. When entering and exiting the vehicle, safely enter and exit by facing the vehicle and maintaining 3 points of contact at all times. You will begin your test with the in-vehicle engine start procedures. All right, the first thing we're going to do is our air brake check. We're going to fire up the truck, let my air compressor build air in my primary and secondary tanks, as my governor is going to kick out at about 125 psi. Anywhere between 100 to 125, the governor is going to kick out. So we're going to just sit here patiently waiting for it to build air. I always push the clutch to the floor, make sure my transmission's in neutral, and safely start the vehicle. All right, the vehicle is safely started, so we're going to watch our air pressure and let it build. Our governor just cut out. We're at 125 psi in each tank. So our governor cutout works. That is step one of our brake check. Now we're going to turn the engine off, let the engine die. We're going to turn the key back to the on position, and we're going to release both brakes. You would make sure that either your wheels are chocked or that you are in gear so you can't roll anywhere for this part of the test. Now that our engine's off, our key is on, and our brakes are released, our second step of the air brake test, we're going to push and hold the brake pedal, and we're going to hold it down for 1 minute, and we cannot lose any more than 4 psi in 1 minute. All right, we've been a minute. We did not lose any more than 4 psi in a minute, and that's for a Class A vehicle, or a combination vehicle is no more than 4 pounds in a minute. Our third step, we're going to pump our brakes, bringing our air pressure down. No less than 60 pounds, our low air alarm is going to activate. It's going to be a light or a buzzer or both. So we'll pump down. There are alarms on, and that was no less than 60. Our fourth and final step, I'm going to continue pumping the brakes, bringing our air pressure down. Between 20 and 45, our valves are going to pop out and set the brakes. Our brakes have popped out, our brake valves have popped out and set the brakes. That completes our air brake portion of the test. Now I'm going to fire the vehicle up, build air pressure back up, and move on to the next item on our checklist. Okay, our air pressure is built back up. We are over 100 pounds now. We've completed our air brake check, so I'm going to mark it off on my checklist. We're going to now do our parking and trailer brake check. To test our parking brakes on the tractor, I'm going to release my trailer brake by pushing in the valve. Keep my tractor brake set, I'm going to put my truck into a low forward gear, and I'm going to let out my clutch and lightly tug on my brakes and make sure that it holds. And it holds. We do that check so that we can make sure if I need to park the truck and walk away, that my truck can sit there without rolling away. Next, we're going to check our trailer brakes. Same thing. I release my tractor. I have only my trailer brake set. I put it in a low forward gear and I lightly tug on my trailer brakes. And they held. We test that so that we know if we have to drop the trailer, unhook from the trailer and pull away from it, that the trailer brakes are going to hold and it's not going to roll away. Our last brake check is our service brake check. I've released both brakes. We're going to roll ahead up to about 5 miles an hour, and I'm going to push my clutch in and apply my service brake while lightly holding the steering wheel. I'm going to bring the vehicle to a stop and make sure that if I need to stop in traffic, that my brakes are working and we can stop. We'll get up to about 5 miles an hour and come to a stop. And we see that our service brakes work. So now I'm going to set both brakes and we're going to continue with our in-cab inspection. But we're going to mark off my parking and trailer brake and my service brake. All right, my lighting indicators. I need to make sure that I know what lights are on and when I'm using them in the truck. I have a left turn indicator that works. I have a right turn indicator that works. My four-way flasher indicators work. And my high beam indicator works. This truck is old enough that it does not have ABS, anti-lock braking system, so I do not have an ABS light. If I had a truck that was equipped with that, I would need to make sure my ABS indicator light worked. This truck also is not equipped with DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, so I do not have a DEF light indicator. But if I did, I need to make sure that my indicator works. I need to check my emergency equipment. On this side of my seat, I have a fire extinguisher. It is a 10 BC fire extinguisher. It has been serviced within the last year. It has a current tag on it. It has a zip tie holding the pin in place, an easily breakable zip tie holding the pin in place, and it is mounted securely in my vehicle. On that side of the vehicle, on the floor, I have a red case that has 3 reflective triangles. If I break down on the side of the road and need triangles, I have them there. I also have a baggie with spare fuses. If I blow a fuse, I'm able to replace fuses. That covers my emergency equipment. I'm going to next check my windshield and my traffic monitoring devices. I'm going to look at my windshield. When I look at my windshield, I'm going to look at it as well as my side glass. I want to look at all my glass that I'll be looking out. I want to make sure that it's clean and clear. There's no illegal stickers, no illegal tint. I don't have any major rock chips. There are no cracks that are obstructing the driver's vision. I'm going to look at my traffic monitoring device, such as my mirrors. I want to make sure that my mirrors are clean and clear. They're mounted to the truck. I'll check them again when I'm outside. But I want to make sure there's no illegal stickers. They are adjusted. I can see down both sides of my trailer. They're adjusted for me, for whoever's in the seat. I want to make sure that there's no cracks in my mirrors either. Next, I'm going to check my windshield wipers and my washer fluid. I want to make sure my wipers, I can see that they're tight against the windshield. I can check them from outside as well. I want to make sure the rubber is soft and supple. It is against the windshield. It will clean the windshield. I want to make sure that when I operate them, that my wipers wipe and my spray sprays. I want to make sure that my wipers are fully cleaning the windshield so that I can use them going down the road. They'll clean it and I can see. I also want to make sure that I have heat and defrost. I would turn my heater over all the way on, turn my defrost on. I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to wait till I feel it. I can feel it there. It's working. I have heat blowing on the windshield. I also want to make sure that I have heat coming out of the dash and down at my feet. In the wintertime, we don't want to get frozen out. I want to make sure I can clear the windshield, keep it warm and safe in the cab. The last thing I'm really worried about in here, I want to make sure my horn works. I've got at least one horn that works, and I've got one. My air horn works. That way I can alert other drivers if there's a situation. If there's animals running across the road or whatever needed, I can honk the horn. From there, if I was doing a test, I would ask the tester, or if I was checking my lights at work and had a coworker, I would ask somebody to exit the vehicle, and we're going to go through the lights. In the front of the vehicle, we're going to have 6 lights to check, at least 6 lights to check. I'm going to have my left turn signal, my right turn signal, my 4-way flasher, my top clearance or marker lights. I'm going to have my headlights and my high beams. Those 6 lights will be checked up front. Then I'll ask whoever's helping me to go to the back, and we're going to go through our left turn, our right turn, our 4-way flasher, our clearance lights on the top of the trailer, my tail lights, and my brake lights. And we would make sure that those all work and function properly. At that point, I'm going to turn the engine off, and I'm going to climb out, and we're going to do the rest of the test outside of the truck. I'm going to safely exit the vehicle by facing the vehicle and maintaining 3 points of contact all the way down. Every time I enter and exit, I will do it safely. All right, now that we're outside of the truck, I'm going to look at all of my lenses. Top of my trailer, top of my truck, my headlights. I'm going to look at my lenses, make sure that I have no broken lenses. There's no missing lenses. I don't have any bare wires hanging out. My lenses are clean and clear. I'm going to have amber or orange in the front and the side of the vehicle and red on the tail. I want to make sure that my headlights are not clouded over. They're not full of condensation, and they're going to function properly. We're going to get into my engine compartment, and I'm going to put my gloves on for this. We're going to check our fluid levels. As I unlatch my hood, I check and make sure that my latches are in good condition. They're mounted secure. They're going to hold the hood when I'm going down the road. When I open the hood, I open it nice and easy, and I don't let it fall down. I like to start on one side of the vehicle and look. I'm just doing a quick look at the ground. I'm making sure there's no fluid leaks, no puddles on the ground. I don't have any major wet spots on the side of the engine. Any of my hoses appear to be in good condition. I don't see any ABCs, any abrasions, breaks or bubbles, cuts or cracks. Doing just a quick look on this side, just checking things out. We're going to go to the other side and focus on my fluids first off. If you remember, our vehicle's been running. We're at full air pressure. So this whole time I'm listening for air leaks also. Any of my air hoses, I'm listening to them for leaks, making sure that I don't hear anything. I'm going to start on my fluids up top. I've got my coolant reservoir. I want to make sure that my reservoir is mounted tight and secure to the vehicle. My cap is in place. My fluid is between the minimum and the maximum lines. My reservoir is not leaking. Any of my electrical, as well as my rubber hoses to and from it, my clamps are in place. They are tight and secure. There's no ABCs, no leaks, no bare wires. I would also check my windshield washer fluid the same way as I did my coolant. Reservoir, cap, hoses, electrical, all the same way. As I come down, I've got my engine oil. I would pull my dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it back out, and check and make sure that I'm between the add and the full on my dipstick. If I needed fluid, I would take my cap off, put oil in my oil filler tube, and then again, pull the dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it back out, and check that fluid level. After that, I'm going to check my power steering fluid. I want to make sure that my reservoir is tight and secure, lid is in place, I'm filled to the proper level. I'm going to inspect my hoses really well. We know this is tight and secure, but I want to make sure I've got a couple of hoses with my power steering system. I want to make sure that they are all tight and secure, clamps in place, no ABCs in the line, no leaks. They're gonna keep the fluid pumping properly. All right, so on my checklist, I've covered my fluid levels. If I had an automatic transmission, then I've got my transmission fluid that I would need to check. And if I had hydraulic brakes, I'm going to have hydraulic fluid. That all falls in my fluid levels. On this side, I'm doing the same as I did on my other side of the engine. I'm looking for my fluid and air leaks, listening, looking at the ground, looking at the side of the engine, all my hoses, making sure there's no fluid and air leaks. My steering system. We're going to talk about my steering system. I've got my steering shaft. I want to make sure that it's tight and secure. My U-joints are tight and secure. There's no excessive slop or free play in my steering shaft. My steering gear box is mounted securely to the frame. All of my nuts and bolts holding it on here are tight and secure. No hardware missing, no shiny metal. My gearbox is not leaking anywhere. It's in good condition. There's no damage to it. I've got my pitman arm, my drag link, and my upper steering knuckle. I'm going to look at my steering linkage, my 3-piece linkage, make sure that it is securely mounted to the gearbox. My pitman arm and drag link are mounted together. I've got a castle nut and a cotter pin present. Same thing back here, castle nut and cotter pin. My steering linkage cannot be repaired. It has to be replaced if it gets damaged. I can't have any aftermarket bends, cracks, or welds in it. And I'm going to continue it down into my lower knuckle and my tie rod all the way across. I want to make sure that my castle nut and cotter pin and tie rod, everything's connected and secured. From there, I want to look at my suspension. Nope, I'm going to go into my tires if I follow my checklist. So I'm going to look at my tires. I want to make sure my steer tire is wearing evenly. I have at least 4 30-seconds tread depth, and I would check that with a tread depth gauge. I want to look at my sidewall. I want to make sure my sidewall is in good condition. There's no nicks, no cuts, no damage to the sidewall. It hasn't hit any curbs. I want to check right down here. I would find the air pressure, and I would find my valve stem and make sure that my valve stem is not leaking. I want to check my air pressure with a tire pressure gauge. If I needed air, we would take it to the shop or have the tire guy put air, or I would put air in it myself if I had access to an air compressor. My tire moves down to my rim. I'm going to look at where my tire and my rim seat up. This lip or flange cannot be bent. I need to have a good contact between the rubber tire and my metal rim. I don't want any debris in between because that could cause an air leak. My rim itself needs to be free of any cracks, welds, major curb damage. I want my rim to be in good overall condition. I'm going to inspect my lug nuts. I want to make sure they are all present. I'm not missing any of them. They are all tight and secure, and there are no rust trails or black streaks coming out of my lug nuts. I'm going to look at my suspension and inspect my suspension. I want to make sure that my spring mounts, I've got a front hanger and a rear shackle, or my spring mounts, they are mounted tight and secure to the vehicle, to the frame of the vehicle. There's no loose or missing hardware. Anywhere there's a grease zerk, they've been greased. I want to look at my leaf springs. Make sure they mount securely to my spring mounts. There's no loose or missing hardware. All the nuts and bolts are present. My springs have not shifted or scissored. They're running in line with each other. I'm going to inspect my U-bolts. I want to make sure my U-bolts are tight and secure. I would crawl down under the truck and look at the nuts and make sure they're tight and secure. There's no shiny metal. Nothing has moved. I would also inspect my shock absorber. It's mounted tight and secure at the top and at the bottom. My fittings are tight. My shock absorber itself is not dented, damaged, it's not leaking, and it appears to be in good condition. I do not have an airbag on this axle, but if I had an airbag, I want to look at my airbag, make sure it is mounted tight and secure. I want to make sure the bag is free of any ABCs. There's no major weather checking. The bag fills to the proper level, and it is in good overall condition. I'm going to jump back to my checklist here. I've covered my tires, my rims, my lug nuts, my springs and suspension. I need to look at my brakes, my braking system. I'm going to look at my brake hose and my brake electrical line. I want to make sure that my fittings are tight and secure. Where I come out of the frame of the truck into my brake canister, my fittings are tight and secure. My hose has no ABCs. There's no cuts in it. There's no leaks. My electrical, I want to make sure that it is in good condition. There is no bare wires, no ABCs. I would look down in at my brakes. I do like to make sure that my brake canister is tight and secure. Clamp is in place. There's no damage. If I was a certified mechanic, I would measure my slack adjuster. But I'm going to look down inside of my brakes, make sure that my brake pads, my drum and linings are in good condition. There's no cracks, there's no damage to them. I want to look and make sure there's no brake contaminants. There's no grease, there's no oil. On the outside of my wheel, I have a hub oil seal. There's oil in here. It can leak on the outside or the inside. I don't want any oil leaking down on my brakes. I don't want any grease on my brakes. That can slow my braking down, and I won't get a good contact, and I won't be able to stop properly. That covers my brake contaminants. We're going to shut the hood and keep on going down this tractor. I don't just throw it and let it drop. I let it down nice and easy, and then I latch it to make sure it's secured. We're going to focus on the driver's side. Make sure my latch is secured. I've got a lens right here. I want to make sure my lens is in good condition. It's not broken, there's no bare wires hanging off, and it's securely mounted. I've got a mirror or a traffic monitoring device. I want to make sure my mirror is tight and secure to the vehicle. My glass is clean and clear. There's no stickers on it, and I can see down it. We talked about that while we were in the truck. In here, I've got a battery, or actually 4 12-volt batteries that are mounted secure. They are not bulging, they're not leaking, they're not wet. All of my battery cables are securely mounted to the batteries. There is no excessive corrosion on the batteries, and my battery box is secure. This lid likes to shift a little bit, but it is secure and holding my batteries in place. I'm going to look at my fuel tank. This truck does not have a DEF tank, so we're just going to look at the fuel tank. I want to make sure my fuel tank is tight and secure. It is mounted to the vehicle with at least 2 straps. I've got a rubber gasket between the metal strap and the metal tank. I've got a vented fuel cap with a chain attached. Any of my electrical and hoses off of the fuel tank are in good condition. No ABCs, no leaks, no bare wires. Under the fuel tank, I want to make sure there's no puddles. I'm not leaking any fuel. My tank itself is free of any damage. It hasn't been dented or punctured in any way. While I'm looking at that, I also want to inspect my frame. And anywhere I can see the frame down the length of my truck as well as my trailer, I want to look at my frame, make sure there's no aftermarket welds, there's no aftermarket holes. My frame runs straight. Frame is in good condition. There's no cracks in my frame. I want to make sure that it's straight. It's in good overall condition. I'm going to look at my air and electric lines. I want to make sure that my air lines are mounted tight and secure to the back of my cab. They're suspended off of the deck, and my glad hands are mounted tight and secure into the glad hands of my trailer. Inside my glad hands, I would make sure that my rubber gasket or seal or O-ring is in good condition. There's no excessive rips, cuts, or tears in it, and that it seats properly so that I'm not leaking air. My electrical, I want to look at my electrical lines, make sure that my plugs are plugged all the way in, my latch is held secure by the gate, my electrical lines have no ABCs in them, and there's no bare wires. So I have no leaks in my air, no bare wires in my electrical. They're all suspended up off of the deck. I'm going to look at my fifth wheel, my coupling system. At my fifth wheel, I want to look at my mounting bolts. I want to make sure that my hardware is all present. I'm not missing any mounting hardware, mounting my fifth wheel assembly to the frame. All the nuts and bolts are there. My fifth wheel platform is in good condition. No broken welds. My fifth wheel plate is held on with these 3 pins. My pivot pin, my keeper pin, and a cotter pin. They're holding my fifth wheel plate to the platform. My release arm is all the way in when I'm hooked up. I can see I've got plenty of grease on my fifth wheel. There is no gap or daylight between the fifth wheel and the apron. The apron of my trailer is flat or smooth. It's in good condition. I'm going to crawl under my truck and trailer, and I'm going to look up in the throat of my fifth wheel, and I want to look and make sure my locking jaws are locked around the shank of the kingpin. I want to make sure that they are locked around the shank of the kingpin, and that again I have no gap from the back either. I would inspect this drive axle the same as I did on my steering axle, except I can have two 30-seconds tread depth. I need to look in between my tires, make sure there's no obstruction or debris, and here's those airbags I was talking about. Other than that, everything else, there's the airbag, everything else is the same. Back to my checklist here. I'm going to look at my landing gear. I want to make sure my landing gear is tight and secure. All my nuts and bolts are present. My legs are fully extended up off of the ground. I've got the bar that my crank handle has, this bar that runs between both legs. I want to make sure the bar is in good condition. My crank handle is stowed properly. I want to make sure that I have plenty of clearance off of the ground as well as between the truck and trailer. So if I'm turning tight or if I'm on uneven ground, nothing's going to catch my landing gear, and my tractor and my trailer are not going to make any contact. I need to make sure that I have reflective tape down the length of my trailer. It's got to cover at least 50% the length of the trailer. I'm going to look at my trailer wall and just make sure my wall, my front of the trailer, there's no rips, there's no tears, the skin's in good condition. If there is damage, it's been repaired. I would inspect this axle the same as I did my previous axle. I'm going to check my lenses. I've got lenses on the back of the trailer. I want to make sure my lenses are in good condition, they're secure, there's no broken lenses, no bare wires hanging out. My mud flap has got to cover the width of the tires, be no higher than 10 inches off of the ground, and be secured to the vehicle. On the back of my trailer here, I've got my DOT bumper across the bottom. It needs to span the width of the trailer. My reflective tape has to span the whole width of the bumper. My door, make sure that it opens and closes properly, latches securely. Make sure my cables are in good condition. There are no broken or missing cables. I need to make sure my lenses, look at my lenses on the back of my trailer, my low lenses and my light ones, or my top ones. Make sure that they're in good condition, no broken lenses, there's no bare wires hanging out, and we checked them earlier to make sure they were working. I would come around this side of the trailer, and I'm going to inspect this whole side of the truck and the trailer the same as I did on the previous. The one thing that I hadn't mentioned, I've got my exhaust system. I want to make sure my exhaust is tight and secure. My heat shield is in place. My flex pipe or flex tubing is all in good condition. There's no soot trails, there's no leaks. It's all tight and secure, and it's in good condition. There's no leaks under the cabs. That would pretty much conclude my pre-trip inspection with the new modernized inspection. Yeah, that's it.